Hello world, this is Edward Bevilacqua here at Novum-U. This is February, 1st, 2019, and we are here to celebrate the graduation of WellCare class number 2. So it's a big day because momentum, energy can push you through class number 1, but when you get through class number 2, that kind of means you've got something going. Yeah. So I'm proud to be here, and Kevin has showed up today. Give Kevin a little shout out. So in the future, when he looks at this video, he knows he was not lost in history, right? So we're going to celebrate the graduation of a number of people today. If you are not graduating today, don't lose heart. But you might think back to, if I had just done a little bit more, had not missed that day, or had, whatever it was, you would be. We have agreed with WellCare starting probably next week that we're going to add 4 more seats. So they're going to put 16 students in a class, and we're going to have 8 seats for people who did not finish. Because it's Nolan's thing, no grades, no grades. Some people aren't, 4 weeks is just not enough time. And other people, 4 weeks is, maybe they think it's too much time, that they don't really need it. But actually, we haven't had that experience in the last 7 years, almost 7 years. We haven't had the experience where somebody said, I know everything, I can finish it in a week. And what would you say based upon today's quiz, Dawn?
I don't know everything.
No, but would you say that there are people that we can make sure that, you don't know nobody knows everything, and we can tailor it so people can do things? Okay, so we usually talk about the history of the school, how it started in 1989 in Los Angeles County by a guy named Dale Larson, whose goal was to what? Does anybody remember?
Help parents buy shoes.
To enable parents to be able to buy shoes for their kids. And then when we came here in 2013, we got the support of Tony Hsieh, who is who?
Zappos.
Yeah, he's the CEO of Zappos, which is owned by who?
Amazon.
And he provided us a classroom in his learning village downtown in the downtown project. So for 2 years we were there. So that was kind of little serendipity, right? The school starts with the purpose of parents being able to buy shoes for their kids. And then we end up, when we come to Las Vegas, having our first classroom in the place that's owned by the guy that's the largest seller of shoes in the world. And now here we are several thousand people later. And next week, no, it's not going to be next week. So next week, okay, so I said before the camera came on, I said, boy, do I look old, or do I look tired? And I am kind of tired. This week was a big week. Michael, who's going to come up here, started at Southern Desert yesterday, and he's going to be at Southern Desert next week. Next week, we start class number 2 at Southern Desert. So we will have 4 classrooms and 5 classes per day starting next week. We thought we were going to be opening Florence McClure next week, but we got a message today that says, no, it looks like it's going to be a week delay because they have some other things that they have to finish. But when that occurs, we will have the highest student population that we have had at any time in the history of the school, going back to 1989. So 30 years. We will have the highest student population, which was how many, Mike? Once Florence McClure goes online? 105. So we should have 105 students in 5 locations, 6 classrooms. And then it's just going to keep continuing to grow because we have Warm Springs up in Reno prison, the Northern Nevada Transitional Housing Unit in Reno. We have the Women's Fire Camp at Jean. We have the men's fire camp, 3 Lakes. We have those to install too. So we've got like 6 classrooms on the books, and every one of the prison classrooms intends to expand it from more than just 1 class a day to up to 3 classes per day. And at Florence McClure, they want to have 2 classrooms and 3 classes per class, 3 classes per room. So that was, so it was a big week, but we're not doing that tomorrow. And another thing that happened last Saturday, I had to be part of the team that drove the furniture up to Reno for our classroom in Reno. So we're going to call those campuses. If it's a facility we own, we're going to call it campus. If it's a facility inside a prison or at WellCare, then we just call that a classroom. We are trying to take the space next door as our classroom, well, which would be a campus now. And what that'll enable us to do for people that go to stage 2 is we'll be open from 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, at least 6 days a week. So anybody that wants to go to stage 2, then it can fit into your schedule because, our program is the Nolan no grades program. So you don't have to sit in a class. You could come to any class in different days of the week. You can go to different classes. But, based upon today's quizzes, right? Mm-hmm. Hopefully you got that there's a lot to learn. And hopefully more than that, you got, if I know this stuff, if I knew this stuff, these questions that I'm asking, there would be value in it. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
It's, I think I heard you say there was a lot of things you didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what would you be feeling, do you think, right now if you did know those?
Oxytocin.
Okay. And serotonin?
Absolutely.
Did anybody notice? I'm just checking to see if that was my phone. My daughter's going to school at Carnegie Mellon, and they were closed for the last 2 days because of the winter Arctic vortex. So hopefully you got that there was a lot of stuff on there you didn't know, but if you did know it, there would be value in it. And so what actually happened at the beginning of the day is you got the Southern Desert exam. And there's a little difference with the people at Southern Desert. What might you think that is, Janine?
They're focused on something different than we are?
Nope. They actually have the same curriculum.
Do they?
Yeah.
Then what happened?
Well, these guys, is it now Keon or Kenya?
Keon.
Well, why did you do your paper Kenya? You signed in as Kenya. No comment? Okay. All right. So guys up at Southern Desert, they're programming, right?
Yeah.
If you have an opportunity to do this, and we say, okay, here's what you got to memorize. What do you think guys do all day? They try to memorize and they do this. So they just go at a faster pace, which is why you saw that whole week 4 stuff that you haven't seen at all. And it's actually pretty good stuff. So it starts with the, our orientation overview is what we're going to be doing next Monday. Then inside our skull-sized kingdom, then outside our skull-sized kingdom. So it's like, okay, inside our skull-sized kingdom, the idea is what? If I know
what I am, I believe.
Yeah, that. And if I know how my brain works, I can do what? That's number 2. Number 1 is dial in who I need to be right now. And then if I know how my brain works, I know how your brain works. And if I know what you believe, what do I have the ability to do? Get you to do things I want you to do, right? So power. But that's week 1. Week 3 is what?
Outside.
Well, it's the practical outside, and it's the practical approach of, okay, now how do I apply what I learned in week 1 of how my brain works and how your brain works? How do I apply that to actually get you to do what I want you to do, right? So we learned about David Logan, tribes, Seth Godin, Derek Sivers, Simon Sinek, and David Phillips about how to do that. Well, so that's kind of like, okay, great. I got the people in the car. I'm driving the car and I got the people in the car. Now what do I have to make sure I don't do? Crash. Right. That's called leadership. Okay. I got everybody in the car. And now I got to get the car to where I want to go. And that's week 4. And that was Nancy Kane, who is a Harvard Business School professor that's given us 200 books, which we will bring some in next week. That's Nancy Kane. That is under crisis leadership. So some of you might have seen the term, what is crisis leadership? Okay, so that's Nancy Kane, because the world that we are living in is VUCA, which means what, Glenn?
Volatile.
Okay, so not our logo, but one of our emblems is a circle with a line through it and the letters VUM. And what does that spell? Huh? Circle with a line means what? No. VUM. Novum, right? And so the VUM is, the V and the U are from VUCA. But ours is no. V is for volatility. No volatility. U is for uncertainty. No uncertainty. C in VUCA is for complexity, and A is for ambiguity. That's the world we live in today. It's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Our thing is no volatility, uncertainty, and M is for mediocrity. So kind of like last night, we had a little chat about doing your best, etc., and we just don't do mediocre. You're not going to get where you want to get by being mediocre. We don't do mediocrity. We don't do that. We don't we don't really put up with people, especially in prison, who want to do mediocre. So and so we're just trying to help people get to that next stage. So that's what we do. And that was the part of the test that you saw today, was that one. And next week they're doing How Do I Love Thee, Let Me Count the Ways by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And I can promise you, if you're in a job interview and they said, what are some of your hobbies or what do you like to do? And you say, well, I like to memorize stuff. Oh, really? That's kind of cool. Like what? Well, poems, prayers, speeches, things like that. You want to hear one? What are they going to say? Sure. Yeah, they're probably going to say, sure. And if you do Elizabeth Barrett Browning's How Do I Love Thee, Let Me Count the Ways, and you can preface it by saying, this is what I think of my son, my 3-year-old son, or whatever. This is what I think of when I see this, I think of my son. Michael thinks of his mother, right, Michael? Yeah. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Yeah. Yeah. That, if you're thinking about somebody when you say it or you tell them, you're actually what? Planting a seed in them, and they think, and then they're going to listen to it. And if you do a good job, what are you going to be doing?
Bonding.
Bonding, right? And then what should happen, unless you decide to steal defeat out of the jaws of victory?
Ask them for a job.
Yeah, and they're going to like you. And they're going to say, wow, I'm impressed with this person. This is not like the other people we have. So that's kind of the history of what we have. And for anyone else out there on the internet, if you don't know what our school's all about, we have these every week. We have graduations every week. And we're going to have to get Latasha up in Reno to start doing this every week. She can't quite figure out the camera thing. The first week she did it walking up to people holding her cell phone. But it was okay. It was good. So it's the thought behind it, right? So let's go on to stage 2. And that is, stage 2 is talking about how the people who are completing stage 1 have made this a better school. And how everybody here has kind of improved a little bit from those people. And hopefully you get the idea that I don't want to have an attitude of like, screw everybody else, I'm on my own program. I don't need anybody. Because what's the truth? Yeah, we do. What did Scott Geller say? Right? We start out as dependent, then what?
You go to dependent, and then we need to be
We start as dependent.
We go to independent.
Yeah, and then we decide as part of breaking away from our parents, we become independent. And what do most people do? Most non-successful people. They stay independent. But where do we need to move to? Interdependent. Okay, interdependent. And that is helping people and having them help us. So hopefully people got from here the kind of this concept of this is a tribe. This is the class 2 tribe. Those other guys from before, they, class 1, they're gone. You do have a kind of an affiliation with them, but they're not part of class 2. This is class 2. So that's the original class. This is the new and improved class. Okay. So let's move on to this. And the first person is Daniel Martinez. Hold on. So I think you can probably tell, Dan, by the clapping before that is, how people feel about you here. Kind of reminds me of, most people say grace before they eat. At our house, we say grace after we eat. We pray after we eat. Obviously not Rodney Dangerfield fans here. Okay. I'm just trying to get some bonding going.
I think we bonded already, okay. Yes. Okay.
So Dan has been there. I don't think you've missed a day, right? Not one day. Kind of like the leadoff hitter for Murderers Row up here. That's a good thing. Murderers Row is a good thing. It's not a prison thing, right? Okay, but maybe in prison it's a good thing too, right? Could be. So Dan is that guy, and Dan has always been on top of stuff and has some humor. And if we go back to, do you remember the date of your recitation?
Not exactly.
It's too bad, so I would put that on here so I would say, go back to January.
Cortisol is running high.
Okay, go back to that date and you'll see when Dan came up here to be, what was that, like a rap guy?
Oh, yeah.
To do his recitation at first. And then his plane ran out of gas. But what happened? What happened when that happened? It kind of turned a sort of a scary thing into what? Kind of like it's a family, it's a tribe. And then Donald jumped in, Keon/Kenya jumped in, Carl jumped in, some of the other guys in here, some people who were in class 1 still that hadn't graduated jumped in. And, it made it, even more enjoyable to come here because there's people that you like that make you feel good. And so that's what?
Serotonin.
Yeah, serotonin, oxytocin, right? When Dan's here, people, except for Janine, seem to really like Dan here. I thought you were punching him earlier. Oh, okay. We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out of the edited version. No, but we'll cut it out of the edited version. The one that we're going to sell on eBay, the video cassette series. So Dan, and I understand you are employed and you're going to continue to stage 2, even though you're not going to be in housing.
Yes.
And so why don't you come on up, please? And so here's Dan's certificate that has his University of Michigan, Quizlet, Coursera, TED.
Thank you,
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Director. Thank you, faculty, and thank you, fellow students. I brought up something to read, and I'm gonna start this out with a lone nut. I was a lone nut. I had no followers. I was scared, intimidated. I didn't know what I was gonna get into. After a while of being around y'all, taking the process of learning how to type and getting comfortable and learning everything, I learned that it was time for me to change the status quo. The story to get you all to join is don't be nervous. It can get a little hectic. Director can be a little stern at sometimes. He only means the best. Next, I say, who's coming with me? This is a tribe. Who's gonna come with me? Who's gonna follow? Who's gonna come up, get their certificate? And the last thing is, not me, well, me, as well as Novum-U will show y'all and lead y'all. Tribal, thank y'all very much.
I knew he was going to do something like that. I knew Dan was. So thank you, Dan. Now, did everybody get that he did the Seth Godin recipe?
Yes.
Pretty cool. So we're definitely going to put that one on our website. What? What do you mean?
Nothing.
Are you sure you're not going to do it? See, Dan is now going to become famous. He's going to become like Manuel Lopez, who did, or no, Manuel, who did Mark Antony's speech and got a bit part in a Samuel Jackson movie because he saw it on YouTube. So we got a little bit part because the guy in our class.
Jackson.
Okay, thank you, Janine Jr. Okay, next. So Dan, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We're definitely going to use that. Okay, so there's a guy in this class who is a regular, always showing up, doing his work, getting things done, but nobody really, I think, pays much attention because he's way in the back.
Oh.
And he's just back there chugging away. Had an opportunity to move up here. He said, no, I'm cool. I'm good. And, when you're up here, and did you feel any cortisol when you were up here just now?
Yes.
Yeah. So, welcome to my world, by the way. When you have people there who are just moving through it, kind of like Richard in the back over there, they're just doing their thing. We're not getting into off into the weeds or into a thing. It's just somebody's tracking. You can look back and you can tell, okay, Philip's tracking with what's going on. We're good. I can keep moving forward. And so, it's hard to say a lot about somebody who's just solid that sits in the back. Because, nobody else is really kind of aware of him except maybe, I don't know, when you go outside. How's Philip when you go outside?
The same.
Just kind of over there? Just dependable, reliable, moving forward, doing his thing, doing the stuff he's supposed to do. So, Philip, why don't you come up here, please? So you really earned this. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. That's it.
And voila. See? Just boom. Get it done. Get her done. Right? Okay.
I thought you were saving the best for last, so I assumed I was going last. Next is John, right? I'm kidding. Hold on.
And the certificate goes to Tyrell.
Aw.
So Tyrell, sort of like John, except not, I mean, sort of like Philip, but not really like Philip, because if Tyrell doesn't agree, you know, he's going to say something, right? And, you know, the problem is I actually do know more. And so, and a lot of people have a tendency to argue first, think second. And I think my hunch is that out there on the street or before, Tyrell was a guy that, because he's a big guy, right? How tall is Tyrell?
About 6'6".
About 6'6", 6'7". And what's his weight? 260, 270?
Yeah.
Yeah, big guy. And, you know, what is a natural thing that you do if you're a big guy, but you're not really well educated, but you're a big, tough guy, right? You get what you want to get, right? You have a forceful personality because that's how you make it. You don't have to make it with your wits. You don't have to be like Donald and use your wits to get ahead. You can use other things to get what you want. And so Tyrell really came a long way. Again, when somebody's in the back, you don't really notice. You notice guys like Carl and Keon, the people in the front, Dan, you notice the people that you see, but we don't really usually turn around. And Tyrell didn't volunteer a lot, but when I called on Tyrell, he'd answer. And sometimes if he didn't like what I'd say, you know, he might not say it in here, but he might, you know, when there's a break or something, he might say something like, you know, I think you're wrong or whatever. And that's okay. But it was good progress. Now, Tyrell can't be here today because...
Can I accept this board on his behalf?
Sure. He can't be here today. Hold on. So he can't be here because he's what?
Working.
He's working. So our plan is working, right? And so Dan is going to come up dressed as Tyrell to accept his award.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Tyrell couldn't be here today, but he sends you thanks, y'all, and have a nice evening.
Okay, there you go. So I think Tyrell will be very happy to hear that.
I'll make sure he gets.
This is it? 2 more? Okay. Okay, so the answer is yes. John Schinkel. Okay, so does the word outlier mean anything?
Mm-hmm.
What is an outlier?
First place.
Well, could be on the other end.
Yeah, stand
Okay.
out.
Somebody who's not on the curve, right?
Mhm.
So normal distribution is called a bell curve, and everybody fits into a bell curve except for people who are what? Outliers. Okay, so you know, we're very lucky to have somebody in here, to have an outlier in the program, and you know, we're doubly lucky to have an outlier in the program who is reserved, participates, but doesn't, you know, try to go out of his way to make it clear to everybody how much that he knows. And that's part of that's an important part of leadership, right? Because you want to be the lone, you start as the lone nut, but what do you need? Yeah, and you need to treat them as what? Yeah, you need to treat your first followers as equal. So when John, who's an outlier, sitting in here in class, doing the work and not making a big deal about it, but just like Philip, like Dan, like other people in here who aren't graduating today, but they're just chugging away and getting it done. You know, chugging away is good. Chugging away and getting it done is better, right? But when you have somebody who's an outlier in the class, that really helps us as a school, because it's important for us to keep moving forward and figure out how far we can stretch our bell curve and meet the Nolan Bushnell thing of no grades, no grades. That we can have people in here that could be way ahead. And, you know, you got to know how to type. There's certain things you have to know how to do, not know how to type. You have to know how to be able to learn to type to be in here. But on the other end, when you have somebody who could be moaning and complaining that this is just way too easy. But on the other hand, they're giving positive feedback to the school and to other people. That's really a good thing. And so, John, if you'd come up, please, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Director, and also to Lauren and Andrew and Michael. Thank you very much for your help, and congratulations to the other graduates as well. You've done very hard work, and I want to encourage everyone else that's still going through the program to keep up the hard work. Excuse me, cortisol. My professional life, I've been in human resources for several years, and I can tell you guys from firsthand experience that the tools and techniques that you guys are learning in here are vastly underutilized. They're very, very strong, very smart. And if you guys really take these lessons and really use these, really sell your brand, really promote yourself, really come up with compelling stories, you will get far, far ahead. You will be memorable to people when you go out and interview for jobs, and you will get those jobs.
John, I have one question. What part of the curriculum did you like the most?
I liked the effective storytelling. I think the idea, personally,
you're talking about the TED Talk?
yes.
David Phillips?
Yes, you have to believe you're a good storyteller. You have to have stories ready just in human resources. You need to have stories ready, and you need to stand out. You have to be memorable, and just indexing those stories, having those stories with you, that'll really help you out, help you stand out.
So let me rephrase my question.
Oh, sorry.
The typing, Coursera, TED Talk, Quizlet, the discussions after, what did you like? What was memorable to you?
For me, it was the TED Talks. I like the upper level psychological and scientific approach. Most job readiness courses, most education focuses on brass tacks, resume, dress well. But when you really get into psychology, you really get into the science of the mind, and that will really helps you stand out.
Okay, good. How about Quizlet?
Yes, I did enjoy it.
Did you get any match? Did you do any matches?
Yes, but I was always second place to Janine.
Okay. And last question, what did you think about Coursera?
Coursera was very good. It's more, you could tell it was from a top level school like University of Michigan, because again, it goes into, I think it was titled The Science of Success.
Yeah.
And it's very, very valuable. I think it's a very good tool.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So John is going to be moving into housing, and John, I guess you have 2 job offers. Hopefully you're going to take my suggestion, but we have other things that we would like you to do too. And I think you could be very helpful for the school in the long run. And okay, is everybody ready for cupcakes?
Yes, if you don't give me my certificate.
Oh, yeah.
I will walk around and get there so you can introduce me and say how I bring value to the school and stuff. I'll walk slowly.
The low film light is flashing on the camera, so we're almost out of film. What?
I gave 3 cupcakes.
Okay. So sometimes you have a student that you're just happy they're going. I mean, what did I say? Happy they're graduating.
Ditto.
Happy they're graduating. And like the other people on Murderer's Row, and Ron will be part of that, when the row is empty, well, there'll be Murderer's Row and then the annex of it, right? Not the annex like the annex, but the extension, yeah. No, but there's this border, right, that Janine enforced when she broke the camera, the first camera.
Oh my God.
So, I don't really need to say a lot about Janine because she said everything already, right, about herself.
You have to be your best representative, right? Exactly.
So, but I think everybody knows how Janine's, what's the word you want me to fill in the blank? Janine's,
Fantasticness.
Okay, Janine's banter.
Fabulousness?
Banter.
Okay.
How's that for a word,
That's a
Michael?
good word.
Yeah.
Janine's banter.
Love that word.
Okay, Janine's banter has kept everybody kind of a little bit on their toes sometimes.
Yeah.
We've had to officially change our policy that we can no longer use the male thing. Male, what is that called? Male what? Pronoun. Cannot use male pronouns anymore. Which is okay with us guys, right? Is anybody bothered by it?
I changed the status quo.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess when she said, who's coming with me? Well, the school changed. We're not going to say he anymore. Even at Southern Desert, it's all, okay, you women, you girls.
Don't tell them that was me, though. Don't do that.
Okay. So, Jeanine, with seriousness. How do you say that word? Seriousness. All seriousness. It has been a pleasure having you in the class. And I look forward to coming here every day after, starting out at 6:30 in the morning, heading to Southern Desert. And then going to Casa Grande. I look forward to coming to class here at night because it kind of makes the day, kind of rounds it out, makes the day worthwhile when there are people that have good positive energy. They want the school to be better. They want to improve. And you can tell when I think back to the first day of everybody, but in this case, we're talking about Janine, and you think back to how they were then and how they are now. And so Janine is, has even more confidence that's based upon now more competence because there's been a lot of knowledge gained. And I'm very sure that, in the future, we're going to be hearing a lot about Janine. And in case you don't know it, when you check your emails, she sent everybody an invitation to her Facebook page.
I did not do that.
Okay, well, it was just me, I guess.
I'll do it.
So, Janine, thank you.
Thank you.
Here you go.
So, I am a brat, and I have been a brat my entire life. And I brought that here to this class because that's just kind of who I am as a person. But in my brattiness, it is because I want everybody to kind of have a lighter sense of self. Like, life is so hard already. You shouldn't have to come in here and it be hard and weighed down too. But when you come here and it is a hard class, there's so much to learn in here, right? But you can use this like to better your life and better your experience. And that is like an invaluable thing. But I am a brat and I pick on everybody to make everybody, I bond with everyone quite early on so that if I say something like pay attention, then it's not like I'm being rude. It's me getting you wheeled in where everybody else is, if that makes sense. Yes, it may come across a little bratty, but whatever, right? So I want to thank the director and Lauren and Michael and everybody else that's helped since I've been here. It's been a long 4 weeks. But it's been a good 4 weeks, and I'm glad that I did come here like John, but not quite like John. I've been in human resources about a decade, and it's a lot of information that you learned in here, but it's good information in the sense that it's some of the stuff I hadn't heard before, even though I've been in this field for a while. Does that make sense? So keep doing what you're doing. Stay positive. That is the key to everything. And I will end with one of my favorite quotes. It's be the change you wish to see in the world. And that is by Mahatma Gandhi. Okay? So everybody.
Thank you, Janine.
You're welcome.
Oh, I can't turn the camera. Too bad. Okay. So we're not quite done yet because we've got the most important. This was all the the pre-act, what do they call that?
Pre-game?
No, well, it's kind of like the pre-game, but it's the warm-up act for our director of communications, our new instructor at Southern Desert, the guy who's come here, even though he slipped and got a concussion, cracked his ribs.
Who, Rob?
Huh?
Who?
The guy on first. Michael, would you please come up here? Our closing. Unless Lauren wants to come up. Andrew, oh yeah, she's supposed to do a poem.
Yes.
Or Andrew, do you have anything you want to say? Do you have something you want to talk about at work? Okay, well, no, Mike has to close the show.
Oh, Mike's closing the show.
Yeah. I think if you think back to last week's video, come on up. If you think back to last week's graduation, Andrew looks much different.
Yeah.
And it's because I think they have broken some records where they're working.
Yes.
So come on over here. Exhibit your cortisol, your dopamine and serotonin.
Serotonin, the oxytocin. I want to thank Lauren for getting me to where I was, director for directing the program. If you guys stick with it and really, really just stick with it, once you're driving the car, you're in control of the gas pedal. And as directors mentioned to me before, don't look in the rearview mirror. Look in the rearview mirror for perspective, but stay focused on what's in front of you. And I didn't, but the van did blow up, quite literally. I didn't. I wasn't driving it. I was just an unfortunate passenger at the time. But anyways, guys, really stick with it. You may not have graduated today, but you're doing it. Come with us. Don't just stay there. Come with us. So,
How about work? Oh, I'm sorry.
Work is going great. We've gotten 3 of Novum-U's graduates have made the top 20 performers out of 130 people. A couple days ago, Mike Hood was #1 top performer out of 130 people. So it just goes to show that when you're given the tools and the know-how to use them, you go far.
And you're a tribe. You guys are.
Yes,
right?
yes, we are a tribe over there at VRI. So come with us. Don't just go through the motions of going through the class and, oh, well, it's hard. Yeah, it is hard. It's not supposed to be easy. But stick with it and come with us.
Well, it's a real privilege to be a part of all the shining examples of the graduates today and previously that you've heard from. They've embraced the Novum-U experience. They've worn it like a mantle. They're proud of it. They're promulgating it, and it's being propagated throughout the universe. And we're going to make waves. We're changing the world here. It's through the forward thinking of the prison wardens of Nevada, and because of our association with WellCare, and because of the vision of Nolan Bushnell, and the implementation of Edward Bevilacqua, our fearless director, and his core team, that we're ending the struggle through education. People are finishing the hard work, and they're starting jobs, and they've got a foundation from which to grow and become successes. So I just wanted to say that, I've said before that I've called them the 5 precious gifts. I'm going to change that to 6 today. There's the life, and life is precious. It's a gift. It's a great gift. And the time is a great gift. Time, once it's spent, cannot be respent. It's gone. And we're learning how to spend our time and our lives making great decisions. And that's the third great gift, choice. We have the will to power, and we are alive and powerful, and we're making the choices and the beliefs that are founding our new lives. Now, the fourth choice, it's between you and God or your higher power. And the fifth great gift is Novum-U. For there are skills that I have learned here, even in my 67 years, that I wish that I had learned at a much younger age, because they will serve all of you well. They're serving me well. And the sixth great gift is you. Yes, each one of us is a gift. We're a gift. We're God's gift to ourselves and each other. And whether it's success or failure or suffering, treat all those different things as the imposters they are, because they're all gifts. There's the gift of success. There's the gift of failure, because you can pick yourself and move on. And you can learn a lot more sometimes through failures than through your success. And sometimes suffering comes along, but suffering is a great gift too, because it gives you strength to carry on. So we've got a sense of connectedness. We've gotten out of survival mode. We've got a brain smart program. We're out of our cage of our own belief systems. And like Amaze, everything you do or don't do matters. You matter. Everything matters. And it's a miracle how broken people can even work together, according to Jordan Peterson. So continue to get yourself together, transcend yourself, become a hero, become the hero of your own story, and write your story here at Novum-U. Become the best you can. There's so much more than heart's back door. There's the front door of your heart. Go right through it.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Wow, that was pretty good, right?
Yes.
Have to get that transcribed. Okay, everybody, so that's going to be it. We need somebody to do the cut. There we go. Thank you.